When I started working in the film industry about 10 years ago, it's always been a dream of mine to direct and act in my own project. And when I would tell people that, they would pretty much laugh at me and say, "Are you crazy? You're gonna actually try to direct and act in a project? That's impossible." So right away I decided I wanted to make my first project a short film. I didn't have any short scripts on hand, so the first person I decided to contact was a writer by the name of Cliff McClellan.
He called me and he said, "Man, I really I want to direct a short. Do you have anything?" And I'm like, I don't have anything, but I mean, I'm a writer. I can write it. So I went back and I put my thinking cap on, and I got to thinking, you know, what would be the worst possible way to die? And I think that would be, you know you're dying and you just don't know why. And so that kind of got into my head, thinking about a one location shoot with minimal characters, something to be easy but could be fun. And then I thought, okay, this rich guy, he's locked in a room with a couple badass guys, and he really doesn't know why. Up until the very last second, it could be a joke. Who knows?
So a couple days go by, and right away Cliff has delivered this really cool script to me called Why, about these two guys who kidnap this guy and torture him. And I was like, wow, that is awesome. I can't wait to make this. I can't wait to be in this. This is gonna be so cool. Next thing I know, it's been like 2 years and I hadn't done anything with this thing. But Tom came over one night, we were hanging out, and I told him, I said, "Man, you know, I don't know if I ever pitched this short script to you. It's called Why. It's really cool. And I think you and I should be the two guys that kidnapped this guy. I think you'd really like it. We should take a look at it together."
He was telling me about this short film or short script that Cliff McClellan already wrote for him a couple years earlier. And I was like, getting pretty excited about it. So I immediately went home after I hung out and stayed with him, and I started thinking about props, and I was pulling out, you know, little cool things we could probably use in it. And then the next day, without him knowing it, I went and checked out an old friend of mine's warehouse that had a bunch of air conditioning parts in it and stuff, and I videotaped all that with my phone.
And he's getting props and buying props and making props. I mean, that's just what Tom does. When he gets excited about a project, it's great to have him on your team because he's gonna bring all his energy and creativity to it. And before you know it, he's just throwing things at you that are gonna help make the project even better. So that's always a really neat thing to see what he's gonna do.
And I showed him all this stuff. He was like, "Hey, oh, okay." And then all of a sudden he's like, "What? It's ready to go. Let's do this. Let's do this." It was kind of happening. The ball was rolling. It was pretty cool. And this is before I even read the script. We just talked about it. And then he finally goes, "Here's a script." And I'm like, "Well, here's some cool stuff." We were ready to go.
I'm in LA, and another of our friends, Tom Zembrod, we work with him quite a bit, calls me and says, "Todd's going to shoot this thing. But we want it a little bit shorter. Is there any way you can tighten it up a little bit?" And I'm going to all these screenwriting meetings and stuff and looking for representation. I'm like, I'm in the mood. I am pumped because I'm all about LA and having fun. I tightened it up just a little bit, sent it back to him.
And then Todd Gable came to mind. I was like, I read with this guy all the time. He's got a great look for Davis. I think he could nail this thing.
He called me and said, "Hey, I've got this really unique script. I wanted you to take a look at it." And he had me in mind for the lead. And so I read it and thought it was pretty challenging just because of the emotional aspect of the character. And he said, "What'd you think?" I said, "I thought it was great." And he said, "Well, great. Well, I'm going to come over tonight and we're going to shoot a screen test in your garage. Is that okay?" And I thought, "Yeah, sure. Let's, you know, come on over."
We went over the script for probably about 15 minutes, and then we shot this for probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I got home and I was really excited about what we did. I felt good about it. And then as I started looking at the footage, I stayed up all night and I edited that 3 or 4 minute piece together, and I sent it to him that morning.
I was blown away. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, what we, you know, kind of what the vision was for that, it was, man, it was something else. And I knew right then that, you know, whatever we decided to do, that it would, you know, it would be good.
Now that we had our cast, we had to get all of our crew together. And that was starting to be a difficult deal too, because once you start throwing all these, you know, "Hey, I need some help phone calls, I think at that time of year, the early part of the summer, everybody's already pre-booked on stuff or they're busy doing bigger projects.
It was go time. We had to make a decision. Either we're going to do this now or this thing's just going to keep getting pushed off and pushed back forever and it's never going to get made. So after I thought about it a second, I said, "Listen, man, I did that screen test without a crew at all. I just put the camera on a tripod. I had the boom pole, you know, I put it on a stand and stuff. I really think that you and I and Todd can just take turns using the camera, doing the sound. And if you're willing to do the special effects makeup too, I think we can do this thing.
Initially was maybe just a little bit of a, you know, what are we doing? But then, you know, once things got rolling and once things got going, you know, it was no issue at all. But at first it was, hey, where's the crew at, Todd? Well, you're looking at them. We're all three the crew.
Now I got my two boys, the two Todds. Todd. They both look, what? Never mind. This Todd, that Todd, this Todd. It was you can see it was already kind of getting a little confusing. So now I know they are both going to be on camera the whole time doing, or the majority of the time, doing their heavy dialogue, all their coverage, all this coverage. So I'm starting to go, whoa, I'm going to have to do quite a bit of stuff. But luckily, Todd Jenkins was going to be there the whole time, so he just goes, yeah, we'll just do this, you do this.
And for me, the challenges were, you know, every time because my character gets beat up so much, is that every time I would get punched, you know, we'd have to cut, you know, apply the makeup and you know, so you could tell where, you know, my new bruises were, and then, you know, action, and then boom, and cut, more makeup.
My character, Roy, has a coverage camera, which is a cheap little video camera. Well, now it's cheap because it's older and the focus is kind of damaged, and we had, it was like, what? So we had to kind of stand in the right area. So, and we're like, we got to go back and get all that stuff in the right moment. So we had to match his Todd Gable's makeup effects to where it was right for that moment when that occurred, to pick up that handheld footage of my little Roy cam. We're calling it the Roy cam, but my name's not really Roy.
We spent all the way up until probably 4:30 a.m. filming Todd, and we hadn't even shot one frame of myself or Tom yet, any coverage of that yet. So we went really quick. We started filming a lot faster. There was no more room for playback. There was just no time for it.
So inside this garage, we started out already having two sound concerns right off the bat. He had a refrigerator in the garage and a big freezer in the garage too. Plus both of it, you had one or two big air conditioning units located outside the garage. You want it far away from your living arrangements because it makes a lot of noise, but we couldn't run the house air conditioner that much either.
When you're shooting in Texas in June, it can get pretty hot, you know, and you have to turn the air conditioner off, the refrigerator off, and you know, I've got a family in the house that, you know, they didn't like to sweat all night, but you know what, they're used to making sacrifices. And Todd told us, he said, you know, we're going to shoot all night, and man, he meant all night.
And then we had another sound concern in the middle of the night. Tweedly deedly dee. Yep. It would have made Alfred Hitchcock proud because it was Attack of the Birds. They were swooping in on our production. Not literally in the garage, but we could definitely hear them, and we thought it was going to be a concern, but luckily Todd's got some really good sound equipment.
It seemed like it happened as soon as it was my turn, you know. It was my turn to start doing my takes, and I was only going to have probably 30 minutes to go through this whole 9 pages of dialogue to get my takes because time is running out. The sun is about to come up. I've got maybe 30 minutes to do mine, 45 tops, and then I got to turn around and I got to shoot all of Tom's coverage as well. So we start thinking, oh my gosh, we got an hour and a half to do this. So there was really nothing we could do. We're just gonna have to do ADR is what I'm thinking. I was like, we'll just have to ADR and deal with those chirps later. And we were flying through it. We did all of my coverage, I think, in probably less than 45 minutes. And poor Tom, we had all of these great ad-lib things that we were coming up with and stuff like that. And he may have had a total of 15 minutes of me filming him. I was just yelling out different lines from the script that I wanted to get him to react to. I'd be like, okay, and now I'm gonna say this and you're gonna react to that, so react to this. And he would get maybe 2 or 3 takes. And before we knew it, the sun was up and we had to wrap out.
So Todd invited me over and had some pizza and we watched it, and I was really impressed with how it turned out. I mean, you put words on a page and you just hope that people don't screw them up, and they can either, you know, breathe life into them or they fall flat. in this case, the actors and everything that happened, it really breathed life into the words, into the script. And as a writer, that's the best feeling in the world. So I'm glad we did it.
When I did finally see the finished product, it was incredible. I mean, it really blew me away. And what caused that reaction, not only from the performance standpoint between all three of us, but just knowing what we were able to accomplish with just three of us, you know, in one night. Man, it really made it that much more special.
For me, I have never been so proud of anything in my career that I am of this movie. I just absolutely love watching it. I love showing it to everyone. And I've gotten so much amazing feedback from this thing. I can't believe the amount of feedback that we're getting on it and the great praises that everyone's getting.
Who was to think that it would have came out looking that quality with basically no crew? If you didn't have any crew, then there wouldn't be any actors. But the actors were the crew, and the crew were the actors. That's pretty cool.
I know that several people who've watched it have said, well why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? And I consider that a really good question that people should dwell on late at night and not sleep.